Tough day today. It's NFL, man. It's tough, and I thought give credit to Seattle's defense, and got some great playmakers over there, a great scheme. I thought they had a great plan for us, and we didn't make the plays where we should have, and I thought our defense did a good job of holding us in the game for the majority of the game there, and we didn't capitalize on moments we should have, and it's tough to go and try and win games, and we can't keep the ball in our hands, and ultimately I take credit for that, and we got to be better. So, questions?
Max, can you take us through the pick six and what happened on that play from your perspective?
Yeah, it's tough. I love the play call. I thought he put us in the best situation to let our playmakers make plays, and ultimately the defense sniffed it out. They did a good job of getting to me quick, and ultimately the 10 or 12 yards that it's 4th and 1, right, and it's either make a play or eat it, and they get the 12 yards that I give up on the run back, they would get back on offense right if I threw the ball out, and they'd start 12 yards back from where the ball was. And ultimately I made a bad decision with the football, and it cost us heavy. And early in the game like that, when you're giving energy to the other team like that, it's tough, and we got to do a better job, me specifically, of keeping the ball in our hands.
As you're rolling out there, what are your options in theory in terms of who you're going to go through?
Yeah, typical boot play. You have your flat, your over, and your high component of your boot play, and that's typical for most of your boots and nakeds. And they did a good job covering it. But again, that's my responsibility to take care of the football, and not my responsibility to try to make something happen when it's not there. And I got to do a better job keeping the ball in our hands and getting ready for the next drive.
Just from a speed of the game perspective, did you feel like you were going through your reads on time too fast? How did you feel?
Yeah, I think. I'll go back and watch the film a little bit, and I feel like I was maybe a half a click fast to the reads, and I feel like that's feeling the flow of the game, feeling the flow of the pocket, feeling the flow of conceptually what's happening down the field. And I got to a couple routes too quickly today, and we could have had some bigger hits on those completions, but throwing the ball half a second too early sometimes, and sometimes you can make those throws if you anticipate well, and but there's a very small gap where if you throw it too early, it's not going to be, there's no chance to complete it. But, that's a learning moment for me, and something that I'll continue to grow on from there and use it as experience for the next time.
Max, on the pick six, it looked like CJ's coming in front of you there. Is that just a play fake, or did you have an option to hand off there?
No handoff. No, it's typical. It's called like power pass in the NFL. You're full slide, cut the end, and go. But again, it was a tough play, and it happens, and you have to eat it and move on from it, but learn from it. Most importantly is next time that situation comes up is don't put the ball in harm's way and just take what they give you. And in that moment it was take the sack and don't risk the ball.
A lot of your defensive teammates were saying that they, despite the fact when you turned it over the first time, you still kind of came back. And so that resilience to do so in this environment against one of the really good teams this year in the NFL, what have they said to you, briefly after this, about how you conducted yourself in your first start?
Yeah, I just would credit the entire locker room here. I think our locker room here is very, very special. And the ability to stay together after a tough loss and tough plays, tough drives, is really hard to do in the NFL. It's hard to do in college, but in the NFL it's really hard to do. And that's one of our team superpowers. And I felt their love, I felt their support, and they don't have to do that. They could just let me be and move on with their next drive, or after the game for the next game. But they don't do that, and our team doesn't do that. And you feel the support here, and whether you play well or had a tough day, you're going to get the same support and the same love from the rest of the team.
When you're going through it and feeling like you are sped up in the reads, what's the key to kind of getting back in the timing there?
Yeah, it's difficult to make that adjustment. Maybe it's a really focused second half or focused second quarter maybe adjustment that you make through. And I think honestly it comes from experience, and I think that I could have done a better job maybe of through the rest of the game noticing that quicker maybe, and trying to slow myself down a little more. And I pride myself on trying to get the ball out in a timely fashion. But sometimes when it's too fast, the rest of the concept doesn't develop the way it's supposed to. And schematically speaking, we had some great concepts today that ended up opening up pretty well. And whether I was a tick too fast getting there or move the spot to try to get there quicker, like it's something you have to learn and go through. And, I'll definitely use today as an experience to, and learning moment to get better from there. And I'll be able to look back on some of the plays today and be like, I know I was too fast here, and I'll slow myself down maybe a half a click slower next time to get that completion.
In terms of quarterbacks, is it easier then to learn how to slow down than how to speed that up progression-wise?
Yeah, I would argue that. I think, I think it just depends on, how you're processing through the reads. I think when you have some really talented playmakers here with Justin and Jay and Jalen who seem like the fastest guys in the entire world, you feel sped up maybe, where I have to get this ball out fast to these guys because they're going to make the play. And in reality, you can take a breath for a second because they're going to get to the right spot at the right time, and trusting that they know the timing just as well as you do. And, again, that's something that I'll learn from this moment and some of these plays today. I'll go watch the film. These guys will watch the film, and we'll get better from today.
Max, what was your communication like with Kevin throughout the game?
Yeah, that's one thing that I think that he does a really good job of. And whether it's, a tough day or a really solid day for the offense and the team in general, he's the same guy the entire game. And, maybe it's, he comes after a tough play that I had and, coaches me up right away, which I'm all ears to because I just want to get better. And, him giving those coaching lessons and those points of emphasis throughout the game are really important. And, and then Mike, he's the same guy with the same intonation, the same, vocal tone, the whole game, which is really great for a quarterback to keep everybody even keel.
Is there anything he said today or a moment you had with him that's going to stick with you?
Yeah, I think, we had a good conversation after the game, and that's something that I'll keep between us. And again, we talk about how this team stays together, and that doesn't happen unless it's top down. And from Kwesi, from KO, the rest of the team, that's an emphasis from the top down. And I felt that talking with him after the game. And I'm always open to getting coached. I want hard coaching, and he does that well, but he also loves up on you and supports you when you need it. And there's a good balance to both, and he's a really good example of what that looks like, of tough coaching and support. And I really appreciate that from him and, what he's done for the team from that regard.
Got a couple injury updates here in a second, but, just in no way, shape, or form can we play offensive football like that and try to win at a place like this. I did think our defense played as well as they could, considering the amount of lift that they had to do today. Forced the 7 negatives and a takeaway. Thought we had some moments in the kicking game, field position wise. We just did not have a type of an offensive performance that is ever going to be acceptable, with the Minnesota Vikings organization. And that obviously starts with me, and it's not about any one particular player or position. It's a collective group thing right now where we just are not good enough and to overcome some of the things that we're doing, overcoming some injuries up front and overcoming some of the things that are happening. We've got to find a way to put the game plan together as simple as it needs to be, or as tight as it needs to be from a play count standpoint, just to get a little bit better execution and get some of the things that winning football looks like, and try to play our part offensively with the other 2 phases on our team. Ryan Kelly had a hip flexor. He did not return to the game when he came out. Aaron Jones, aggravated his shoulder a little bit. He's going to be evaluated. Josh Metellus and Jonathan Grenard didn't finish the last drive, but no injury. Those guys had been dealing with some things, but they was not injury related. And Jordan Mason, you saw him go down there later in the game. He was evaluated and returned. So really, Kelly and Jones would be the names that we'll be evaluating here.
Kevin, as best as you can see today at least, why was the offense so poor?
Well, I think early on in the game, we had our struggles running the football to try to stay efficient. We had some screens and some kind of plays that kept us in manageable D&Ds, and then some places where I thought early on, Max was, honestly, maybe processing too quickly. There were some moments there where he was getting back to some things where we had some explosive chances for either Jordan on a backside in catch and run, or even on some of the third downs where, he just a little sped up like a normal young player can be in his first start. And we just never could really make that one or two or three in a row kind of play. And then when we did move it, we weren't able to sustain it long enough to get in the end zone. And then obviously the low red zone play there on fourth down, when totally flips on, getting the turnover we've been so desperately waiting for, and our defense does that. And then that sequence ends with them getting 7 points is losing football.
On that fourth down, what are you trying to get done there?
Yeah, it was a little over, thought we might have had a little bit better spot on the third down play where Addison caught the ball, and ends up being a little bit one plus, whatever it ended up being. We had struggled to run it up until that point, at the point of attack and things like that. So wanted to try to see if we could get Max out on the perimeter with a, kind of a run pass option, and they ended up kind of having a looping player kind of in his face right away. And, fourth down, he's trying to make a play and just ends up, being, obviously catastrophically bad, because, one of the reasons why you go for that in that moment is even if you don't get it, the field position is going to be on your side with the defense playing really well. So, got to call a better play there, got to, decide the best option for us to try to limit that ever being the outcome in that scenario, but also give us a chance to score, because we knew we'd have to score some points to win the game and to try to capture the momentum off that turnover with 7. What I thought was critical, critical sequence to try to have a chance to win it.
In general, with those third and short, fourth and short type plays where you guys do throw it as much as you do.
Ben, we have run it. We have run it as much as we've. I know that's been a well documented thing, but I just got to call a better play there, and it's all going to be results based, and that was about as bad of a result as you can have on that sequence. And like I said, early on in the game, it was a struggle. I think we were under 10 yards. Close to our first 10 or so attempts, and just kind of trying to find that yard with a physical front, and it felt like a chance to maybe have an opportunity to try to get the quarterback out on the edge, not drop back pass or anything in that situation, or see if we could have multiple options besides just seeing if we can hammer it up in there. Felt like it was the best option for us at the time, but obviously it was not a good option.
Going back to the second half of last week, does it feel like the offense is pressing right now?
It just feels like between some of these throws and potential throw and catches that we're just not getting, whether it's location, timing, rhythm, there's no question we're pressing. Guys want to make those plays. Guys want to make the throws. We've got to do a better job early on in games, where it's really not, there's no excuse to be made. We get a third and manageable when we're moving it, third and 3 or 4, whatever it was, and, going to have a chance for Oliver on a play early on in the year, we had success with, scored on a very similar D&D, a little tighter down against Cincinnati, but have the same coverage, same look, same everything, and we give up an immediate sack there that for a young quarterback can have an impact and maybe speed you up, the next few sequences of drives, and it all is connected. But yeah, I know how hard and how hard our guys are preparing and trying, and we just can't quite seem to catch the rhythm of positive plays with all 11 guys executing right now, and that's guys maybe trying to do too much. Maybe we've got to try to limit what we're asking of the group as a whole, especially with some different guys stepping into the lineup, just to try to get some more consistency at the very least, to try to give ourselves a better chance.
Gentlemen, every road place is a hostile environment, but this was rather unique.
Yeah.
How do you think Max kind of held the enormity of trying to?
Yeah, I mean, he, pre-snap, he made a couple. I can think back to, there was a couple early down, kind of, they were sending some sending some pressures, which you kind of come in here knowing between their defensive scheme and that Mike has, which he does a great job with it, but also a young quarterback that they're going to try to activate some of those things. He got the play, made the adjustment to the play, slid right into the pressure, and just gets sped up a little bit, and Jordan's on kind of a backside read, which we knew would probably be the primary on that play, and he just gets sped up and throws it just a hair early. Going to the right place, doing all the right things, could fall in alignment with a young guy that we wanted to allow him to, function in our offense because he showed the ability to. But yeah, it's a tough ask, obviously, and I thought from a procedural standpoint, running the huddle and making some of the calls that he did, and we tried to take as much of that off his plate as possible. I thought he was functioning at a high level. It really, like I said, we'll go back and watch it and spend the time with him going through it, on a deep dive. But if anything, it was him playing quickly and processing. He was getting back to his checkdowns. He was getting to Aaron Jones on the backside of some progressions early on, just putting it in play and kind of checking a lot of boxes where hopefully you can get him settled in, and then he starts kind of finding that rhythm and timing to be, in alignment with the concept called when eligibles might be open.
Does he rather deal with that issue than the opposite end of that?
You're always, that's what I told him after the game is this is great experience for him. It won't get harder than going to Seattle for your first start against that defense. And he's such a competitor and wants to obviously come out here and lead this team to a win. But I told him that's great experience and an unbelievable learning op, knowing what it felt like, knowing how you were, seeing it, and maybe, even able to, as you get maybe more experience, which Max is going to play a long time in this league, you'll start to be able to, the game will slow down a little bit, even though he is what we believe to be a fast processor.
Kevin, is it just coaching to get guys to slow down when they're younger, or is it a matter of reps?
I think it's reps, and it's also, you think back on a couple of those plays, and they seem very much long ago when you see the score kind of get to where it is and we don't end up scoring on the day. You forget about those plays, early on in the first or second quarter where, all those plays matter for a young quarterback of very much like seeing the ball go through the net. And when you're going to the right guy and maybe it's just a click early or you get moved off the spot with an NFL kind of pocket, and all those things can have an effect. Just like the positive effect of, those plays being thrown and caught and maybe a catch and run, and we get our playmakers involved. And then I thought he made some nice plays too. TJ up the seam and making some nice check down throws on some play actions where we were trying to be a little bit more explosive today. And he was, we were moving the ball at times without a very consistent run game. We got it going a little bit later on in the game, but it was a tough ask and probably needed just a little bit more all 11, guys doing their job and playing with a little more physicality up front early to try to set the tone for how we wanted to play. And I thought, it took us a little bit too long to get some of those functioning early down plays to just stay efficient and try to, once again, I think we had a few too many 3rd and 10 pluses where whether it's a penalty or if it's a negative run, those are hard. Those are tough for us right now, and we're not going to just dive into the world of continuing to just throw the ball over and over again. We're going to try to see if we can manage it with some ball out plays, screen game, or trying to stack some runs to get back to manageable if we can.
Is JJ still in the concussion?
He is as of right now, but that's we'll see how he does tomorrow. Our goal is he clears and he can have a good week of practice and have an opportunity to play next week.
And the last thing on Adam Thielen, was that a healthy scratch?
Yeah, it was coach. I'd just file it under a coach's decision. Looking at where we were at some other positions around our roster, you're just trying to do what you think is best to win and make sure you've got some depth at some other spots where guys were dealing with some things, and that receiver position's one that has stayed pretty remarkably healthy this year.
How close was Christian Darrisaw to being able to go today?
Yeah, I think it was close. It was just a combination of the ankle, some discomfort there, and then just kind of we're still in a world where his knee is something that he's working through every week. I think he's obviously such an important, impactful player to our offense that we're always going to try to get him out there, and CD wants to be out there. He just couldn't quite get there to play today, and having Donovan out as well just starts dipping into some things. Ryan Kelly eventually going out, and we had some guys step in there, and we'll take a look at it this week and hopefully get him back and hopefully get the best 5 we can to go back home and try to win a game this week.